Whitney has always loved getting to know new people and getting to know their stories, particularly ag producers. She's an agritourism coordinator here at the Department of Agriculture and enjoys combining her two passions of working with people and agriculture. So Whitney, I will give you the floor if you want to share your screen and start your presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Give me 2 seconds to get my presentation up real quick. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay. Good morning. Like Tandy said, I'm an agritourism coordinator. I also work with Michaela Denker. So there's a chance you know both of us together or one of us. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about why you should shop at a farmer's market. So to start, how do you find a farmer's market? They're popped up everywhere. And so we've kind of combined them all onto one website on oklahomaagritourism.com on our website here. At the top of the page, it's divided by activities, regions, etc. If you click activities, you can see all the different activities we have here on our website and just click farmers market, the words highlighted in orange. And these are all the farmers markets registered through ODAFF and through agritourism. So these are all of the ones registered with us and all the ones that we are promoting and supporting. Once you click on that page, it's going to show you all of the farmers markets that we have across the state. And you can kind of see in this interactive map we have here, you can see all of the different farmers markets and kind of where they're spread out across the state. You can continue to scroll, you can search by region. And so if you're looking for one in a certain area of the state, you can find them that way. So if you're looking in central Oklahoma or like southeast, you can kind of find where the farmers markets are that are closest to you. Once you find one that's kind of in your area that you want to go see, you can click on their profile. Every producer on our website has a profile, and there will be photos at the bottom so you can kind of see what they look like at their market. And they'll have a contact information of the farmers market manager and then a link to their Facebook page. We like to guide everyone directly to their Facebook or website. That way customers can see when they're open, what producers they're going to have, what products they may have available. They will have all that information for themselves on their own Facebook. You can also see there's a Google map location, so you'll be able to click on that with your phone and it'll take you directly to that farmer's market. And so that's the way that we have it set up. The easiest way we've found to direct people to farmers markets is all right there on the website. So now I'm going to talk about the benefits of a farmer's market. We have several benefits, so I'm just going to hit on a few. And so I'm sure once you go visit them, you will be able to find the benefits in it yourself as well. The number one benefit of shopping at a farmer's market is the fresh produce. Producers and farmers are picking this produce just specifically for this farmer's market, whatever day that may be. And so, you know, when you purchase it and you go look at their booth, you'll know that that produce has been picked that week and it's fresh and it's there for you. And that way you can take it home and eat it day of. The next benefit is it tastes better. That's because it is so fresh. It hasn't traveled for days at a time on a truck or a semi. It's straight from a local producer right there near you. And they'd wait until it is freshest to pick. So whatever that may be, tomatoes, peppers are in this photo, but a wide variety of different produce. The next benefit is it supports local farmers. And I think along with that becomes it's local, so it's in your region, that supports your community. You want to support those people and you know where the food is produced. It's right there in your area. So that's a really cool thing, I think. Along with that is once you visit the farmers markets, you begin to build relationships with the producers. These producers spend lots of time and dedication and hours working these produce and working in the field and trying to get this food ready for you. Their life goal is to help you and give you fresh produce, and that's what they're there for. Along with that, if you're curious of where the food came from, how it was produced, what's the benefit of eating different types of produce, they'll be able to help you with that. And once you start visiting a farmer's market, you can visit them week after week and kind of get to know them a little bit better. I think one of my favorite parts of my job is just getting to know those people and asking them about their different produce. What are they going to have next week? Why do they do what they do? You know, get to know them and what they have to offer. The next benefit is, especially after this year where everybody's kind of been stuck inside, farmers markets are a social event. I know that's not what you think of typically when you think of a farmers market, but it is. You're walking around, you're visiting with the vendors, visiting with other customers. You can go by yourself, take your family, take your friends, and just enjoy the day and have a nice time. It's so much more of a social and fun experience than going to just the grocery store. Typically, if you go to a grocery store, you get your things, you get out, and you go home. There's so much more to that with a farmer's market. They sometimes will have different entertainment. I've been to several that'll have live music, whether that's a whole band, one girl sitting on a chair playing her guitar, singing. So just take that moment in, and maybe that's a fun new activity you can do with your family and friends, is going and experiencing the farmer's market and having a lot of fun with that. Another benefit of visiting a farmer's market is not only are you able to purchase produce and things like that, home baked goods are available at farmers markets. I don't know about you guys, but fresh bread is like one of my favorite things. There's something about it. It's just so much better than the prepackaged stuff you can find at a grocery store. And they'll sell different types of breads and bagels and cupcakes. Some will even have cookies that you can eat while you're walking around on the farmer's market. I know that's something I really like to do, and just walk around and enjoy that as well. Another benefit is the farmers markets have made in Oklahoma products, things that are grown, processed, or manufactured in Oklahoma. So that can be anything from soaps to candles, a few craft goods. I mean, the opportunities are endless. Most of the farmers market will be produce and food things, but the made in Oklahoma products are really cool as well. So basically what I'm trying to say is go visit a farmer's market, find one near you, or take a day trip, drive an hour or so and go visit a farmer's market, get to know your producers, eat that fresh produce, work so hard to produce it. And I personally think it's so much better than buying it from a grocery store, just from a quality standpoint. And then with that, you know where it came from, you know where it was produced, and it's supporting your local Oklahoma people. So that's everything I have. This is my contact information, phone number and email. Does anyone have any questions that I can answer?
Anybody has any questions for Whitney, you can drop them in the chat either to the group or just to myself, and we will get them answered. So Whitney, one question I've had is, what all products can you purchase at a farmer's market, and what's your favorite thing to purchase?
You can purchase a wide variety of different produce, baked goods, local meat, dairy products, lots and lots of things. Probably one of my favorite things is fresh sweet potatoes. It sounds weird, but I just find that they're so much fresher and better at a farmer's market. And I just love to take those home. And I also feel like when I purchase produce from a farmer's market, it lasts a little bit longer on my shelf than maybe what I buy at a grocery store.
Okay, I got another question in. So the question is, are produce costs comparable to grocery store, especially when you think about like the quality of product that you're getting versus the quality of product you might get in a big box store?
I will answer this, and then I think we've got a farmer's market manager later who can answer this better. I think when you compare the quality, the cost is worth it. I do think that sometimes it is a little bit more expensive, but like I said, you get the benefits of the quality. It's local produce, and I think overall it's worth it. And kind of like I said, it lasts longer than maybe some other produce. But if you're paying just a little bit more, I don't think that's too much to ask, especially with how much work the producers put in daily to do this. And most of the producers will do it by themselves. They don't typically have very many people helping them. So it's mom, dad, and maybe they've got a couple kids that are helping them, or maybe they don't.
A little more bang for your buck then.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have one more question. Is shop ahead / pickup available at a farmer's market? And Mary might touch on this a little bit in her next presentation, but if you want to address that a little bit, Whitney.
Yes, so I'm not 100% sure which farmers markets are doing that this year, but several of them did it last year. You could order online by like Thursday and pick it up on Saturday morning. And I know we had several farmers markets do that last year. I think that maybe they will still be doing that this year. But what you should do is check with each individual farmers market if you're interested in ordering ahead. I know one of the farmers markets, or 2 or 3 last year, you would order ahead, just drive through, and they give you your bag of all of the things you purchased, and you could just go on your way. But look at each farmer's market individually, then you'll be able to tell if your market is doing that.
Perfect. That's awesome. So one more question came in, Whitney. Are markets year-round, or are they only open during the springtime? What's kind of the timeline for a farmer's market?
Typically, farmers markets are more of a late spring through early fall event. There are a few that are year long. So there are a few that are hosted indoors, and they're using things like hoop houses to be able to produce produce all year long. So they may be growing lettuce in January because they have a hoop house or a greenhouse to grow that. But typically it's early or late spring to early fall.
Okay. And then another question came in. Looking at your website, how many registered farmers markets are there in Oklahoma?
I think I didn't look at the exact number, but I think right now we're hanging out at about 40 different farmers markets. And we're still taking farmers market applications. So once somebody turns in their farmers market application to myself or Michaela Daker, then their profile will become active.
On your website?
Yes, on our website.
Perfect. Okay, one more question, and then we'll move on to the next presenter. But someone asked, how does someone start up their own farmer's market? Or how did they get their friend or their local producer to start a farmer's market? What's the fast and quick process to that?
The best way to do that is to have enough vendors who will be able to come up all year long. I believe it is four to six, I can't remember the exact number, of vendors that will be there consistently for throughout the summer farmers market season. Once you have your vendors established, you can turn in a farmers market application, and I can email that to you as well. And it's a simple piece of paperwork that says this is our contact information. These are the kind of rules that we're guiding our farmers by. This is where we're located. And then we will make you an active farmers market.
Perfect. Okay. Any more questions for Whitney? Okay, doesn't look like it. Whitney, thank you so much for joining us today. If anyone has questions about finding a farmer's market across Oklahoma or anything about agritourism, definitely reach out to Whitney. She's a wealth of knowledge and a great person to work with for sure. So thank you, Whitney.
Thank you, everyone. Go visit a farmer's market.
Okay, so our next presenter or our next presentation is going to be a little bit about produce seasonality and then also the benefits of shopping at a farmer's market from a market manager standpoint. So our next presenter is Mary Bixler. Mary grew up on a small farm in Jones, Oklahoma, where she gardened, raised animals, and tended a little orchard with her dad and her grandfather. She graduated from the University of Central Oklahoma with a bachelor's degree in strategic communications, a minor in Spanish, and a focus on sustainable food systems. She was busy during college. Mary has a passion for local foods, sustainable agriculture, and food justice through dealing with her own chronic illness and finding healing through food, farming, and community. Mary is currently the manager of the OSU OKC Farmers Market at Scissortail Park and serves on a community advisory council for building a coalition of Oklahoma farmers markets. So Mary, I will hand you over the floor. If you want to share your screen, you're good to present.
Awesome. Thank you, Tandy. Give me 2 seconds, guys, and I will share my screen. Perfect. Okay, let's see. Okay, so everybody seeing my slideshow? Oops, let me start back over.
I'm not seeing it there, Mary.
Oh, you're not? Okay, let me go back.
There we go.
How about now?
Yes, ma'am. You're good to go.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, I am Mary Bixler. Like Tandy said, I'm the manager for the OSU OKC Farmers Market at Scissortail Park. Super glad to be speaking with everybody today and really appreciative for Tandy and Mary Ruth and Whitney for putting this on and some of the other partner organizations that are presenting today, because I think this is such an important conversation for just kind of how to rally behind our local food producers and folks that are working really hard and are really good at what they do, growing fresh food for us. And so I kind of just wanted to start talking a little bit about our market, since we kind of were talking about there being some different types of farmers markets that have different kind of rules or structure to them. And ours is a little different from some of the ones that you find in the community, which I think all are great and have different benefits associated with them. But ours is at Scissortail Park and runs from April to October. So exactly like Whitney was talking about, we run from that early or kind of late spring into early fall, because that's our prime growing season. And we are outdoor market. So there's a lot of markets you'll find that are indoors and maybe run year round, but we're in one of those situations where we run through the growing season. We do have some farmers that have some preservation techniques, kind of like Whitney was talking about with hoop houses and greenhouses. So luckily we're able to have some food growing this time of year where otherwise would be really, really difficult. But I think Whitney did such a good job about talking about kind of seasonality and some of these benefits of shopping at a farmer's market. And I love that you talked about just how different the products are that you're buying, and what the difference is in buying directly from producers versus going to a grocery store. There's lots of different steps intertwined, and that's kind of what I wanted to hit on mostly today, is just what are these benefits of shopping at a farmer's market, and how we kind of use our behaviors and our shopping patterns and our money to support producers, and what that actually means in the grand scheme of things, because I think there's a lot of overlap with different systems in our community, our own health and wellness. And so I thought the best way to talk about this today was kind of with a sustainability lens, and kind of looking at farmers markets and all the impact that they have in these different areas. And so I thought it'd be helpful to look at, sustainability within local and sustainable food systems in these 3 kind of main pillars, or frames of thought. So we definitely have, the environmental sustainability of local food systems. And Whitney was kind of talking about that, you're supporting local producers and buying directly from them versus, going to a grocery store where there's been lots of steps, lots of food miles, which is a term that I'll get into in just a second. But then we also have the economic piece of shopping from farmers markets, and how that really benefits not only individual business owners, and producers, but entire communities, and our ability to kind of strengthen our economic ties to one another and support each other as kind of collectively. And then third, kind of the social implications of farmers markets, and what that's doing to increase accessibility of food and work towards decreasing food insecurity, which is a huge problem in Oklahoma and this region in general. And so I kind of wanted to dive a little bit into those three topics, and I'll try to be pretty brief here because kind of a lot to go over, and at any point someone can stop me or pop me a question. So environmental, like I said, really looking at how shopping at farmers markets and supporting locally works toward environmental conservation and actually regeneration, which I think is a really important thing and something that's been happening for a while, but is a really new conversation about, not only are we conserving resources, but there are ways in which farmers, ranchers, food producers are actually regenerating their environment by creating a healthier soil microbiome by, planting different cover crops or having animals kind of, graze on the pasture, and then the pigs come in and they disrupt the soil. Then the cows come in and fertilize the soil, which makes for a healthier soil system and then healthier food for us. And that actually regenerates, whole environments. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then economic piece, like we were talking about, keeping money circulating within the community. And then some of the social implications being, fresh food accessibility, health equity, and food sovereignty, which is just a word that we kind of use to describe people's ability to feed ourselves and their community and having kind of control over that system. So Whitney talked a little bit about this. And again, I thought you did such a good job on that, Whitney, kind of just talking about all these different pieces. And so just to kind of hone in on some of these pieces, being that small scale and sustainable farming, makes, I think, a lot bigger of an impact than sometimes we even think, like, oh, I'm just going to the market, and buying $20 a week or every 2 weeks. But really, I mean, over a good amount of time and multiple people doing that, entire communities supporting that system makes a really big difference. So I just kind of want to empower us to think about, all these ways and benefits that come from shopping locally. And food miles is one of them. We were talking about that a little bit. Whitney talked about that. Food miles is a term to describe the average amount of miles in transportation that food takes to get from where it's grown to the consumer, which at a farmer's market, it's coming from the farm to the market and then home to you, versus in some of these industrial or commercial systems, the way food is normally grown and processed, it's grown somewhere and then it's harvested and then it's transported somewhere to be, cleaned again and processed, and then transported somewhere else to be packaged, and then transported somewhere else and kept refrigeration, and then to the grocery store. And so, there's a lot of emissions that come from that amount of transportation. So on average, our food that we buy at the grocery store is traveling 1,000 to 1,200 miles. And, we look at farmers markets, and most of that is coming, from Oklahoma, around about 150-mile radius. So huge differences in the amount of carbon emissions that are coming from, a local food system to, some of our industrial systems, which I don't want to demonize industrial systems whatsoever, because we all need, a healthy interplay of both of these to be able to feed ourselves and to feed, as many people that live on the world. And we kind of talked a little bit about soil regeneration and just how it's really important to the atmosphere and the water, that we're not, putting lots of chemicals into the ground. And a lot of our farmers are using, integrative pest management and techniques that are really good for the environment, are good for plants, are good for soil, aren't going to cause, harmful kind of runoff into the water. And then just looking at the difference in, greenhouse gas emissions from pasture raised animals from industrial raised animals, and just the difference in, their quality of life, the amount of methane that animals are producing. So lots of environmental factors that are in with, purchasing from a local farmer's market that I think we kind of don't think about as much because we're, removed from a little bit of that. We don't see, there's not a way to quantify, greenhouse emissions that are, coming from when we're shopping local. So I think those things are good to remind ourselves of why it's so important. So we'll transition a little bit to the economic impact of shopping at a farmer's market and what that really does for the community. And I think I get a special kind of look at this being a market manager and working with these farmers and customers every day, and kind of looking at, you know, people's story and looking at who we're really supporting, not just the producers, but our whole communities when we're shopping locally. And that really makes a huge difference. I mean, when we look at, you're able to support farmers, you know, into their growing season, but also through the winter when they're not producing. This is a lot of equipment that gets purchased, you know, a lot of farm adjustments, a lot of buying seed to think about next season. And when we're able to directly support our producers like that, whether that's from shopping at a farmer's market or, you know, ordering directly, or maybe you're a part of a CSA, which is community supported agriculture, you're really helping our farmers be able to sustain themselves, not only through the growing season, but into the off season, which is really important if we're looking at how to keep this kind of food system working for us and with us, I think. And so actually I'll go back really quick because those are some of our farmers that we have. And I think people on this call know them. That's Carrie from the Looney Farm. Then we have Rod from Acadian Family Farm. And I bet if I had to guess money, that is whose sweet potatoes Whitney is talking about, because they are fabulous. And finally, we'll just hit on the community kind of aspect of farmers markets and how this is, you know, really benefiting a lot of pieces within our social systems. So farmers markets and increasing food accessibility really are working toward a huge hunger issue in Oklahoma. And I bet our ONI representative that's talking today will speak a little bit more in depth about that. But, you know, out of our 77 counties in Oklahoma, 55 are considered food deserts, which are areas or counties that don't have a reliable or close way to get fresh and healthy produce. And that does vary if you're in a rural area versus an urban area, but that's a lot of space in our state where people are not getting consistent, reliable access to healthy food. And so I think everyone that's on this call today kind of, you know, recognizes that farmers markets play a really big piece in this, not only because they're bringing healthy food directly into communities for people, but also because there are, you know, nutritionist assistance programs set up within farmers markets that help make this food accessible to everybody, which we all know everybody deserves high quality, you know, nutrient dense foods. But making this food more accessible, whether that's through a CSA, like I mentioned, or through farmers markets kind of explicitly, you know, we're really able to bring a healthier food to people, which Tandy kind of mentioned. I kind of got into this with my own chronic illness, and a lot of it revolving around food and dietary issues. And I think that's something we see a lot in Oklahoma, and kind of using food as preventative medicine, and a lot of that, you know, helping with chronic illness. And so I think the more that we make this kind of food available to people, the more that we, you know, are able to feed people with dignity and direct to consumer kind of food ways, but also are just, you know, hopefully creating a space that's nutrition and wellness focused, and you know, bridging some of the gaps that we have with hunger or access to resources. So it's really interesting, I think, to look at all of these intersections of how farmers markets and local food systems impact, you know, what we're doing as individuals and collectively. So moral of the story, I think, you know, local food systems and farmers markets have really big impact in those three areas that we were kind of talking about, which I know I just did a bunch of brain dumping, but I think it's fun to kind of conceptualize these different ways. And that's really all I had for everybody today. Again, my name is Mary Bixler, and I'm manager over at the farmers market at Scissortail Park. There's my contact info if you want to get in touch or come see us at the farmers market. We run every Saturday from 9 to 1, and we have lots of cool community space, story time, live music like Whitney was talking about. But any farmers market that you go to is going to be good and is going to support locals. So thanks everyone for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mary. If anybody has any questions for Mary, you can drop them in the chat really quick. Mary, I actually have a question for you. I don't know, you might have already touched on this and I might have missed it, but can you go into a little bit about your farmers market here in Oklahoma City? And I know the question earlier was, do farmers markets have a drop-off or a pickup option? So do y'all offer that as well?
Yeah, great question. So our market, was saying a little earlier, runs, seasonally, run every Saturday from 9 to 1. So we offer online ordering and pickup. However, I think that I want to highlight a couple of markets that do it a little differently and arguably maybe a little better. Like the Paseo Farmers Market, they have one platform where you can get online and you've got access to all the products, and you can like build your bag and your grocery list, so to speak, and then you can just come pick it up with a contact-free pickup. That's a little different than what we do, because we are trying to kind of promote a lot of our producers have their own ordering sites, and we kind of trying to promote them. So it's a little different because you can go onto, the Looney Farm website and pick out your vegetables, and then you can pick up your bag from the market or kind of along the street at our Veggie Valet service. But it's not the same kind of dashboard where all the products are in one space, which I know that Edmond Farmers Market and Public Market are using an app called What's Good. Source What's Good, I think it is. And that's kind of, all in one space, versus ours is we're encouraging people to, order directly from folks' individual websites and platforms that they already pay for. But I think that's a really, really important piece of this, especially kind of in the wake of COVID, is how to, have as mitigate any, contamination possible. And especially, we're lucky because we're outdoors, but, we do get some crowds sometimes. And so we've been really intentional about how to keep people safe, have a lot of procedures in place at our farmers market, but also really love what Paseo Farmers Market's been doing and able to serve people that are really high risk or immune compromised. Great question, Candy.
I have one question come in. What is your favorite part of being a market manager?
That's a great question. And I think this picture speaks to it. This picture on my contact information. I love going out to the farms. And I think that's what Whitney said too. And just learning people's stories and being able to see exactly where my food was grown and came from. And, there's so many people, a lot of farmers and ranchers that got started doing this because they were just growing food for their own families, because they recognized, hey, there's a problem with our food system, and, let's try to do this a different way and support each other. And they were like, oh, wow, I'm actually really good at this, or this is a really good product. Let me make this more accessible. And so I think that's really cool. People just get empowered by each other, and there's enough support from the community that supports people. And so I definitely think my favorite part is going out to farms and really learning people's story and being able to share their story. Because I think that's something that's really beautiful about, food in general, is regardless of the interests or your background or your life experience, everybody's eating. And so we can all kind of, find some humanity in buying food and sharing food together, talking about food, talking about growing food. And so that has just been something that's really healing to me. And I think a lot of people that are on this call and why we work in this industry.
Perfect. Okay, one more question that I have. What is your favorite thing to purchase at a farmer's market?
That's a great question. There's so much good stuff. Even right now, this is actually my favorite time of year because I'm like a greens gal. I'll take all the greens, any greens. And I've been really going wild for some bok choy, which I didn't even put that picture there because that actually is some baby bok choy with that little ladybug. Didn't even mean to do that. But any green, I'm specifically this baby bok choy that Carrie grows is just phenomenal. I will say too, I have like a hankering for foraged mushrooms. I've been doing a little foraging myself. And so that might be this time of year is like particularly good for morel mushrooms. So that's probably what I get most excited for.
Well, does anybody else have any other questions for Mary? You can drop them in the chat or send them directly to me. Okay. Okay, it looks like Mary, you just answered everything that everyone could need to know. So that's awesome.
Or just like gave everybody way too
No,
much.
thank you so much, Mary, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tandy. Appreciate you.
So our next topic, to me, is one of the main reasons that we started this webinar. When I was involved in farmers markets a lot, I realized that there were a lot of consumers that did not know what to look for when going to purchase an item at a farmer's market. They didn't know what should their canned good items look like, or what should their eggs look like, or how should their meat look. They were kind of just blindly purchasing items. And so to better educate them, our next speaker is Stephanie Baker. Stephanie is the Quality Management Specialist at the Robert M. Kerr Food and Agricultural Products Center on campus at Oklahoma State University. As a partner of a partnership with OSU and the Oklahoma Small Business Development Centers, she is responsible for helping FAPSI and OKSBDC clients and food businesses in Oklahoma with food safety and quality management projects. So Stephanie, I will turn it over to you if you want to share your screen and start your presentation.
Yes, thank you. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am very motivated to get up early on Saturday and go find a farmer's market. And I'm pretty hungry, it being almost lunchtime here. So I know myself and everybody else on this webinar, we love food, we love Oklahoma. And I'm just going to start my presentation by telling you a little bit about the two places I work, because these are resources for people in Oklahoma and for food businesses. So the first thing is just the picture of our building here at OSU, the Robert M. Kerr Food and Agricultural Products Center. So why does the OSU campus have the Food and Ag Products Center? Well, Senator Robert M. Kerr has this quote about 25 years ago, we started this project, and Oklahoma grows billions of dollars in ag products that we sell out of state that are get processed and then they ship back to Oklahoma and are sold retail. And so we wanted to try to help keep the dollars here in the state and help Oklahoma processors add value to their food. So here's a couple of pictures. This is a picture of what's our test kitchen that's kind of going to scale up a recipe for a client. And then this is a picture of the meat processing area. Like I said, 1997 is when we opened on campus, and we have a 96,000 square foot standalone building, and we have a place for animal harvesting, just a general food manufacturing area. We have a grain milling lab, sensory profiling area. We have food microbiology and other analytical abilities. We have a conference room, and then just we have classroom, we have other things that we can make demonstrations and have just different of all kinds of, we're trying to target, anybody, any kind of food, any agricultural products. So if you want to check out our website, do that later at food.okstate.edu. But then going over to the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center, and these are two places that you guys may not have heard of. These are some pretty well-kept secrets here in the state. So people can reach out to FAPSI, or they can reach out to OKSBDC and get counseling on businesses. And so if you don't own your own small business or work for a small business, you know somebody who does. So that's what OKSBDC is here for. There's one in every state. Provides confidential, high quality, no cost entrepreneurial and small business management advising in order to help Oklahomans start and grow businesses. So we're committed to helping grow Oklahoma's economy one business at a time. And that's almost the exact same mission statement as FAPSI. So this is a good partnership for me this year. And I just started working about 6 months ago with them. So I've learned a lot over the last 6 months. So for OKSBDC, they have offices all over the state. The offices are usually in universities or tech centers or chambers of commerce. And actually, I should probably tell you the definition of a small business for them is less than 500 people for most industries. So that's almost everybody. And We're available to all 77 counties, and whenever you register for workshops and training and counseling with OKSBDC, you get a team of about 30 counselors who specialize in different areas. We have people who specialize in accounting or technology or healthcare, you know, there's the list of things. We have specialists in all those areas, and we reach out to each other and work with each other on all the projects. And I'm just a specialist for the food business. So register. I have my website up there real quick. You can register. They have some 1-hour free webinars that cover specific topics and starting a business plan and stuff like that pretty regularly. And then, so why we're here. We're talking about what to look for at a farmer's market whenever you go to get different foods for quality and for food safety. So the first one, just in general, I think we've all had about a year-long lecture on how bacteria and viruses spread. So just in general, have clean hands, don't touch everything, don't pick it up and smell it, or just kind of keep in mind that you're handling people's food. And so and then I was going to add on this one that the vendors will probably bag things up for you. And I just wanted to encourage you to talk to vendors, and like Whitney and Mary were saying, ask questions. That's the best way to learn about what a good peach looks like, or, you know, how ripe a watermelon is. They're going to be the ones that can answer those questions for you specifically. But when you're talking about foodborne illness, we're talking about like E. coli and salmonella. Like those are the main ones a lot of people have heard. Now, these are present naturally in the environment that all these vegetables are growing in. And one of the most common sources would be the intestines of animals, and then whatever comes out of those intestines, and how it can frequently happen in the environment. So just for general, if it looks clean, we don't recommend washing it until just before it's ready to eat. Now, if there is dirt or something, if you can rub it off with a dry towel, or, you know, use a brush or something. Dry cleaning is the best until you can wash it right before you actually consume it. And so the added water provides moisture that bacteria use to grow, and then it can also spread bacteria from one item to another. And so things like damaged surfaces, cracks, any cuts or rots, bruises, those are entry points for bacteria and for other spoilage like yeast and molds. So you're going to try to just look for those undamaged fruits and vegetables. So specifically for melons and cantaloupe, they were more susceptible because, you know, they were constantly in contact with the ground while they're growing, and then the rinds are porous, which harbor bacteria, and especially during heavy rains or flooding. And so that's just some things to keep in mind whenever we're looking at melons. And then they're temperature sensitive. So if there's a late freeze or some other type of freeze damage or chilling that can damage the structure of the fruit, and so that provides entry points for the bacteria. Just to cover leafy greens, you want to try to keep them cool, and so try not to leave them in a hot car. And I know during the summer that's hard, so we want to try to prevent them from wilting and try to make it home. And it's good to wash these. These are ones that we do want to wash, and we recommend a triple wash with fresh water each time, or a continuous wash of all surfaces. And so you also don't want to keep them in a closed container with other items like apples, onions, tomatoes, pears, because actually as those fruits and vegetables ripen, they give off an ethylene gas, and it's not a food safety issue, but as a quality issue, it can make them turn brown or give them an off flavor. And so just keep them separate. And then it's good to have humidity with the greens so they don't dry out. And then we recommend a damp towel in the refrigerator, but try not to keep them in standing water. Then on sweet corn, I just wanted to, I don't know, everybody else was saying this. I grew up on a farm in Meeker, Oklahoma, a dairy farm. So, and the sweet corn is one of my favorite things. And I don't know, I'm not going to get into the topic of GMOs, but if you find a worm in the ear of the corn under the husk, it doesn't mean that the whole thing is bad. If you can cut it off, you can eat the rest of it. that's one of the things that some farmers I've talked to recently wanted me to kind of mention, because corn is GMO'd because of this worm to keep it out. So I mean, they kind of go over like this is a GMO detector. But obviously, if that's something that's important to you, you know, talk to the vendor. But I know that from the outside, if you're not around the corn a lot, like you might think that the whole thing is bad just because there's a caterpillar in it. But had a specific producer want me to mention that, so that's my slide on corn. It's delicious. Even if you cut the worm part off.
Well, Junior, Zoom call, workout.
For
Alrighty.
eggs,
I'm gonna start my workout.
we're just gonna
You
make sure that
too.
it's not dirty or cracked. And that's the big thing on eggs. They have to be kept refrigerated. So backyard chickens are so much fun and pretty easy to take care of. So it's fun to see the different colors of eggs, and it's one of those things that I'm assuming are pretty popular at the farmers markets. Also want to keep those refrigerated after you buy them. And then I got just on the meat, you know, red meat should be red. But you know, when it freezes, it does turn brown, and the oxidation that happens when meat goes from red to brown, it's not a food safety issue. It's just a timing issue. So it just means that it was exposed to oxygen. So keep it frozen, keep it refrigerated. This is another one where you need to speak to the vendor about how long ago they processed it, you know, their particular practices that they use, and if they have like an expiration or best by date on theirs. Hopefully they can explain to you all the details on their meat products. And especially, I mean, the thing when you open up, you just don't want there to be like a foul odor. So I know it's hard to smell wrapped up meat, but if it smells, you know, off, then you know, thorough cooking will kill any bacteria that's present. So there's always the thorough cooking aspect of it. So that's some of the things to look out for on meat. I kind of thought somebody else might touch on the inspections aspect of it. So if they have an inspected facility, then they should be able to have the certificates or the permits and all that kind of thing. And so I didn't really look into that on this presentation. So maybe somebody else could answer about, you know, which products need permits and that kind of stuff. And milk. So milk and cheese, refrigerated, obviously, pasteurized. And I didn't want to assume that the entire audience knows and understands that pasteurization is heating the milk or the milk that's made to use cheese or other dairy products to a temperature that kills bacteria, harmful bacteria and viruses. So it's not adding any chemicals. It's not really changing it. It's just there. The reason is a food safety reason to kill bacteria. That's not to say that all raw milk contains harmful bacteria, but I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, raw milk can only be sold on the farm. And so there should not be any raw milk at your farmer's market. And pasteurized is the opposite of raw. And then another thing that I think people, shoppers that maybe were bored in the last 30 years may not know, is that homogenization is another long word that looks kind of scary, but all homogenization is that the milk you buy at the grocery store is homogenized. And so it just passes through a really fine screen that will break up the fat that naturally occurs in milk into tiny particles so small that they don't float to the top. And so milk can be anywhere from 3 to 5% fat. And if it's not homogenized, that fat content will float to the top because oil and water separates. You know, milk is, 90-something% water, 5 to 3% fat. And so that portion that's water and fat separates. And that's why if it's not homogenized, you'll get the cream at the top. And so shake it up, it's good. It's just homogenization, I want to just emphasize, is not adding chemicals or anything like that. It's just a physical breakdown of the fat. And so again, talk to whoever has the milk. I don't know what else to say about that. I could go on and I mean, I'm gonna just go on. I can talk about milk all day. Okay, canned goods. If you're not familiar with canning, a properly sealed can won't be leaked. So basically, when you're canning something, you're creating a vacuum between the food and the jar. And so leaking would be a break in that vacuum. And that vacuum is what prevents bacteria from growing. And so I tried to find a picture of the lid. So the lid has a little dimple, and I don't know if you guys remember Snapple's commercials about having the little poppy center point of the lid. So if it snaps and it pops, then that means that it's not has lost its vacuum. So the vacuum is what you want to have in there. And so you just will probably not have a flexible or movable lid. But the people selling it should know this. So hopefully you don't find that. But and then the contents, of course, you don't want the liquid to be cloudy because, you know, as bacteria grows, it can cloud the water and or the liquid inside. And then just contents. I mean, processing does change the color a little bit, but if it's consistently the right color, but if you have spots of darker or lighter colors, then that might be something to look out for. And of course, when you open it, if you have any foul odors, that would be something to look out for. There should be a headspace, which is the amount of air between the food and the lid. And it varies for different products, but I mean, I think a 1/2 to 1 inch would be a decent range to look for. Anything more than that would be too much vacuum or too much air for the vacuum to hold. So what else do I have here on cans? That's all for now. Baked goods and other food in general. Allergens, you know, if you have an allergen, obviously you're already aware of that and you're asking questions. And I think even if there's not an ingredient statement, or if there is an ingredient statement, I would still just verify with the vendor, because whatever your particular allergen is, and there's so many more than this big 8 or 9 that's coming. The big 8 is, you know, milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, and tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, and soy. And so they're going to add sesame in a couple years. They're starting the process now to add sesame to this big 8 of regulated allergens. But, you know, there's so many more allergens. This is just the list that accounts for about 90% of the food allergies in the country. And so that's why they have regulated these. But, you know, people are allergic to so many different things. I just encourage you to, even if the label has a list, sometimes it can still happen that another allergen is present. And so I just want you to don't take the label for truth, and just verify with your vendor on whatever your allergen might be. And I have just the general advice from USDA to clean, separate, cook, and chill all food, no matter where. Wash hands and surfaces, wash fruits and vegetables, cook to the proper temperature, and if you can, invest in a thermometer. There's all kinds of guidance out there on what temperatures to cook food. Keep it separate, raw meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, and other foods. Chill, and then of course, as soon as you cook it, you want to, if you don't eat it, you want to chill the leftovers to prevent that bacteria from growing in that optimal range, temperature range. And that optimal temperature range is called the temperature danger zone. It is 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's when, that's the range at which bacteria that are harmful can grow the best. Not that they can't grow at the other ranges, but that's the prime. And so if it's hot, you want to have it hot. And if it's cold, you want to have it cold. And then, of course, you know, frozen prevents growth even more. And there's an internal temperature recommended range, you know, it varies, but 165 to 180 is pretty common for all foods. And those are a couple of resources that I looked at for this presentation. And that's my contact information. So I guess if you have any other questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. If anybody has any questions for Stephanie, please send them in either the chat or to myself. I've actually already received a few. So the first question I have, Stephanie, is, let me scroll up a little bit. Does FAPSI have any printouts or any virtual copies of a fact sheet for washing protocols when it comes to produce?
There is a lot of fact sheets on OSU's website. I did not search specifically for that topic, but
Okay.
there, you know, I think it's the extensions website that maybe has the link to. Looking around on the website, I'm sure if you just Google search an Oklahoma State fact sheet on that topic, it should pop up.
Okay.
So probably.
Okay. And then the next question is kind of along the same lines. Are there handouts for meat products on what to look for / avoid that specifically come from FAPSI?
Again, I'm sure there are. I can't like just point you to it right this minute, but I should probably have looked at those things before I started this presentation.
That's okay.
Because they have lots of people working on that and making those types of informational materials, and so I'm sure there are.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any questions for Stephanie?
So
okay, Stephanie, do you know do you know of any food safety resources for farmers and food producers?
yes. So between the Oklahoma Department of Ag and the USDA and OSU's website, I mean, there are a lot of there's a lot of information out there. There's a Produce Safety Alliance, which is a government issued produce food safety training, and we offer a training course on that here at FAPSI. It's a pretty small fee. I think it's like $25, and it's an all-day workshop that can be done online now, and it just goes over all the food safety information for produce, and there's some regulations that are involved in that. So our website, there's an events page that should have it up there whenever it's available. I'm not sure of the next day that it is scheduled, but there should be one coming up pretty soon. So I have that. And then just the Produce Safety Alliance is where that information comes from.
And so they can find that on the FAPSI website, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I put that in the chat for anybody that is looking for it. The next question I have is, what got you interested in food safety?
So I grew up on a dairy farm, and I was pretty, I kind of went to college thinking that I might have a restaurant or something. And then so I started at OSU here in hotel and restaurant management. And then I realized all the jobs are like nights and weekends and holidays. And I thought, man, I'm going to do something different. So I saw, of course, the College of Ag has lots of good people and lots of good information, and they are offering animal science and food science. And so I switched over to the College of Ag and started my major in food science. And it's now that we have a food safety option, but so I think I really enjoyed studying it. And so I think it's kind of like another lesson that we've learned recently is that, everybody has to eat, and there's always going to be a demand for food. So it's definitely a good industry to get involved in.
Sure. Okay, one more question, Stephanie. Can you tell us on freeze-dried foods that would be available at the farmer's market?
That is something I have not looked into. So I want to, because I've heard that a lot of people are doing that now, but I have personally not looked into that yet.
So is there somebody at FAPSI that this person could reach out to get some answers on that?
Yes. Okay, let's see. Who here would probably be the best person? I'll type in the Dr. McGlynn. He's the horticulture specialist. I mean, I'm assuming freeze-dried things are going to be more fruits and vegetables. So he's a process authority, and so he should be able to answer questions on that type of thing. And I will put his email in this chat box.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, so does anybody else have any more questions for Stephanie? Okay. Thank thank you so much, Stephanie. I know you kind of had a hard topic to cover. There was a lot of items to go over, but I think everything was super beneficial and educational for everyone on, and I hope everyone kind of learned a little bit more about what they should look for when they are going to purchase items at a farmer's market. So thank you.
Thank you.
So our last presenter today is Stephanie DeBerry. Stephanie works at the ONI project, which is the Oklahoma Nutrition Information and Education Project, which is a statewide SNAP Ed social market project housed in the OUHCS College of Public Health, Department of Health Promotion Sciences. Stephanie is the ONI Nutrition Project Manager and a registered dietitian. She enjoys her role of being part of an interdisciplinary public health team that uses innovative approaches to evidence-based interventions. She graduated from the University of Oklahoma with a BS in Health and Exercise Science and a minor in Spanish. She went on to graduate from San Diego State University with a master's in both exercise physiology and nutrition sciences. She's an avid home gardener and a regular shopper at the Norman Farmers Market, which is her local farmers market. She also loves visiting farmers markets when she travels to check out the local food scene. So Stephanie, I will turn it over to you if you want to share your screen and start your presentation.
Thank you, Tandy. I appreciate that introduction. So I am very excited to be with everyone today. Let me see here. Can everybody see that okay? Okay, so like Tandy said, thank you. I am Stephanie DeBerry and I am the Nutrition Project Manager. And so I just want to say that I am presenting on behalf of Meredith Scott today, and she's the ONI Program Manager. And so she is our farmers market guru. And I know that a lot of you probably know Meredith. She was unable to present today, so I'm going to do my best to do all of this information justice. I've been with ONI for a long time. My role on ONI really is all of the nutrition education and material. So if you've ever seen content come out of ONI, likely I've had a hand in producing that. So, but I'm very familiar with farmers markets and farmers markets assistance programs. So I am excited to share with all of you today. So I'm going to be covering 3 different food assistance programs that are accepted at the farmers market. We are going to cover SNAP, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Double Up Oklahoma, which is also known as DUO, as well as the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition, Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, which we'll refer to as SFMNP. Similar to ONI, it's a mouthful and a lot of words, so we tend to go by acronyms. And I just kind of want to point out here for all of the consumers, the 3 different signs. These are signs that you would see at farmers markets. So it's very easy to tell if they're accepting these different benefits programs. And so both the market managers and the producers all are aware of these signs, and they will have them posted to make it very easy to know if they accept the benefit that you're looking for. All right, and it's not advancing. Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Okay, so I just kind of want to go through the process of how, if you're unfamiliar with how to redeem benefits at a farmer's market, it's a really easy process, but if you've never done it before, it can be a little bit intimidating. So I just want to break it down and make it really easy. So in order to redeem benefits, you would go and visit your market manager's table. Each market has this table, and there is clear signage typically, and they are well aware of what's going on, and they can walk you through this process. I highly recommend before you go to the market table, take a quick lap around the market, see what's available, because it's really helpful to understand what is there before you redeem your benefits, to know how much you might spend. Not to say that you have to know for sure, but it's typically a little bit easier. Unspent tokens can be returned to your card, or you can keep them to spend at a later time. And it really kind of depends. I would encourage you to ask when you go to the table what they prefer, because some markets, they do have a limited amount of tokens. So it's very helpful to know if you plan on keeping them or not. They can guide you through that process. It is important to know that vendors will not charge tax on SNAP or senior benefits. And so that's really important to know and just keep an eye on, as well as tokens are in $1 increments. So sometimes it can be a little bit confusing, but both the market managers and all of the producers are aware of this. They cannot be redeemed for change. So vendors can round down, or they can add some products to make it up to a single dollar value. So again, both the producers and the market managers are aware of this, so they can help you through that process. Okay, so this is a map. This can be found on the ONI project website. So if you go to oniproject.org /farmers markets, or there's an easy tab that's very easy to find there. These are all of the SNAP accepting markets or direct farm producers that accept SNAP. They're very easy. It's interactive on the website. So if you're not quite sure what market or producer is local to you, I encourage you to go to the ONI project website, and that has all the different information. And what I love most about this map is that if you click on it, it will link you directly to either their farmers market or their webpage that will have the most up-to-date information as far as hours, where they are located, and any events that might be going on. So it's a really easy way to find that information. This is some signage that you would see at a SNAP accepting farmers market, and it kind of just, again, walks you through that process, how to use your benefits at the market. So it's really important that you bring your Oklahoma Access card with you, because you will need to swipe that at the market manager's table. That is how you redeem your SNAP benefits. So make sure you bring your card with you. You will visit the market manager's table, and you will let them know, you will swipe and let them know how much that you want to redeem. So kind of like it says, you'll swipe it. And so let's say that you choose to redeem $20 in benefits, they'll swipe your card and then they will give you $21 tokens. And then you will actually take these tokens, and that is what you will redeem with when you are talking to the producers and the farmers. You will give them your tokens in exchange for the product that you receive. Again, if you have any leftover tokens when shopping, SNAP tokens never expire and they can be used at any time. So as long as the market is open, you are available to redeem those SNAP tokens. You can keep those, but again, I encourage you, ask the market manager's table if they prefer you put them back on the card, because again, I know some markets have a limited number of tokens and that can be an issue. We want to make sure that we have tokens for everybody. It is important to note that, and I will talk about it in just a minute, that senior tokens do expire at the end of the season. So that's really important to note the difference between those. And this is just a picture. This is a senior farmers market card, but this is what that EBT machine looks like. So again, when you go to the market manager's table, you will take, and I know Mary knows this process well, when you go to the market manager's table, you will take your Oklahoma Access EBT card, you swipe it, you let them know how much you want to redeem, and they will give you tokens. And each of these assistance programs that I'm talking about, you will go to that same table for all three of these, and likely those tokens look a little bit different for each of those. So just to let you know that. Okay, so there are some different rules, and each of these programs are a little bit different with what you can redeem with your tokens. So I'm going to go through each of those. I know this is a lot of information, but there's also print materials at the market that can help remind you. And again, those producers are very aware of what you can and cannot purchase with your benefits. So what can be bought with SNAP? Anything that you can buy at a grocery store with SNAP and use your benefits there are the same products that you can use at a farmer's market, or you can purchase at a farmer's market. So fruits and vegetables, meat, poultry, and fish, dairy products, breads and cereals, other snack foods, anything that's a non-alcoholic beverage, as long as it's, they're packaged, seeds and plants. This is one that I think is really interesting. And like I said, I was an avid home gardener, so I love growing my own food. So people don't always realize that seeds and plants that produce food are also available for purchase on your SNAP benefits. I think that's a really important one, especially when we're early in the farmer's market season, that you can purchase those plants for your home garden as well. And you can see this graphic here. Tokens look a little bit different at each of your markets. But there will be signage to let you know what you can and cannot buy. Okay, so there are some things that you are not allowed to purchase with your SNAP benefits. But again, it's the same rules that are followed at a grocery store. So things like vitamins or medicines, foods that are not packaged. So if you can purchase it and it is ready to eat, that is not allowed on your SNAP benefits. Hot foods, for example, a ready-to-eat rotisserie chicken. So if it's packaged for home consumption, then that would be okay. But if you can literally purchase it and eat it right there, that is not covered. Beer, wine, liquor, cigarettes, or tobacco. Gift baskets if non-food items are more than 50% of the cost, or any non-food items such as pet food, soaps, paper products, or other household supplies. Again, I know there's a lot of rules to this, but talk to your farmers, talk to your producers. They can help you answer these questions. They are very well aware. All of them have been trained, so they know what you can and cannot purchase. The next program that I'd like to talk about is Double Up Oklahoma, and we refer to that as DUO. So a lot of times that's what it's called. And so this idea is a buy one, get one. So you redeem your benefits. So you're spending $1 in your SNAP benefits. This program at participating markets will actually give you an additional $1 for Oklahoma grown produce, and that's up to $20 a day. So if you go to the market manager's table and you swipe your card and you redeem $20 in SNAP benefits, you will get your SNAP tokens, and then you will also get 20 double up tokens, and that is to be used for Oklahoma grown produce. But there's a little bit different rules, so we're going to go into those. And this is just signage that you might see at the market. This is all letting you know that that is a participating market. So things that you can redeem your DUO tokens for, again, SNAP tokens have their rules, DUO tokens have different ones. So fruits that are fresh, frozen, canned, or dried that do not have added salt, sugar, or fat. So minimally processed fruits. Vegetables as well, same thing, fresh, frozen, canned, or dried, no added salt, sugar, or fat. You can also buy herbs as well as plants that grow food. And again, it's really important that they are Oklahoma grown. If you want to find out more information, find out if your local market accepts the DUO program, you can go to doubleupoklahoma.org, and they have a full list of participating markets there. All right, the next program that I'm going to talk about is the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and that one's got the interesting acronym that I can't ever say. It's a mouthful. So this program is a direct benefit for seniors, and that's really important to understand. And this one also has different rules with what you can purchase. This one will be a $50 debit card to use at the farmers markets, access to locally grown produce, unprocessed honey, as well as fresh cut herbs. The reason why this program was instated was to provide additional benefits and access to fresh fruits and vegetables for seniors, providing a healthier diet. And then also an opportunity for social engagement. I know previous speakers mentioned it really truly is a social aspect and a social feel when you go to your local farmers market. And the more often that you visit, you start to see familiar faces. Like I said, Norman Market is my home market. I know a lot of the producers, and it's so much fun to go and socially interact. And I know that all of us, especially during COVID, we're probably a little starved for that social interaction. So it's nice to see friendly faces when you shop. Eligibility requirements, you must be an Oklahoma resident, age 60 or older. If you are Native American, then that is 55 or older. And there's also some income requirements, and you can see that here on this table right here. So there is that, and it is based on income and household size. Okay, so let's see here. So the benefits process is a little bit different. Applications are sent to, oops, I apologize, partner agencies. A waiting list will actually begin in early to mid-March. If you're an individual, you can call OKDHS because the program is administered through OKDHS, and the number is listed there. That EBT card will be received if you're approved sometime between May and June. Again, it is a preloaded debit card with $50, and it is really important to keep in mind that October 31st expiration date, because again, whereas your SNAP benefits will not expire, senior farmers markets, if they're not spent by the end of that market season, which is considered October 31st for a senior program, then they do expire. So it's really important to spend it by then. It's also really important for this program that you swipe only the amount that you plan to spend for the market trip that day. There are very limited tokens for this program, so it's important that you only redeem that amount. And again, if you want to redeem your $50 and you end up not spending all of that, then you return to that market manager's table, give them back the tokens, and they will return the money back to your senior farmers market card that you can keep with you. Okay, so again, with some rules, there are a little bit different things that you can buy here with your senior farmers market benefits: locally grown fresh fruits and vegetables, unprocessed honey, and cut herbs. Like I had mentioned before, the redemption is actually handled through OKDHS Financial Services, so it's administered just a little bit differently, but you as the user from this program shouldn't see a whole lot of differences here. It's very similar to all of the other token programs. It is important to note that if a misuse is noted, that the senior could be unenrolled in the program. Like I said, also I want to mention that tokens, each of them are a little bit different, and the reason why they are different is just for accounting purposes. So it's not that we're trying to make it really complicated for users, but there is a reason that they look a little bit different. But again, there's signage at each of the markets, and all of the producers are very aware and can help guide you through this process, so you're not alone when you're shopping. They're very knowledgeable. Similar to the other token programs, you cannot make change, so you'll have to round down or add produce to that purchase to make that up to the dollar amount. And don't forget to spend them by October 31st. A quick note about civil rights, just if this slide is just to let everyone know, if you have any issues, you have questions about SNAP or DUO, you can contact, and this is actually for all USDA programs. This is the information to contact there. And then if it's referred specifically to a farmer or farmers market complaints, you can contact ODAFF, which is Department of Ag. They can help you out. They are very friendly and can help you there. It is really important. So if you do have an issue, to make sure and make sure that you have the name of the farmer and or the market, just any information you might need to share with them. And if it is a concern regarding the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, you would contact Carrie Crittenden, and that is of the Oklahoma DHS. Okay, so just to recap really quick, like I said, there are some rules. These are both print materials that you will find at your local market that can help guide you. And so we call these shopper guides. And so you can easily pick these up, take these with you as you're shopping along, so you remember what those rules are for each of those programs. So just to recap with SNAP, all fruits and vegetables, dairies and eggs, packaged foods, breads, herbs, plants that grow food, and meats as well. So that includes anything that you buy at a grocery store, but you are purchasing that from your local farmers market, which is a fun experience, and it's great quality food. And then also with the Senior Farmers Market Program, it's a little bit more limited, but it is specific to Oklahoma grown fruits and vegetables, cut herbs, and unprocessed honey. So those materials are really helpful when you're shopping, so look for those. Okay, a quick plug for the ONI project really quick. I just wanted to let everybody know when you are at your farmer's market, if it is a SNAP accepting market, then you will likely see one of our wooden signs, which you can see over here. They typically have recipe cards, and to the right on the screen, you can see an example of those. So we have different types of recipe cards that we produce at ONI, but we really try. So if you're at a farmer's market and you're not quite sure, what is a patty pan squash? What do I do with a patty pan squash? Well, really, it's just like any other squash. You can cook it just like you would. But if you're not quite sure what to do with some of those different produce items, we have materials to help show you not only how to pick, how to choose those items, how to cook those items, but then also give you a recipe on the other side, quick idea on how to use that. So I picked the sweet potato one just because sweet potatoes they're just super yummy, but we have a lot of different produce cards that you can find. And also ask at the market manager's table. They can help you locate those materials as well. Another quick plug just for anybody that might be interested. If you are looking for easy, healthy recipes, 30 minutes or less, we have a Tasty Text program. You can find more information on the ONI project website. And that is just if you text choose homemade to 555-888, you will get different produce tips. That includes both for farmers markets as well as easy, healthy recipes. So a fun program for you to enroll. And I just want to say thank you for your time. Again, I included both my contact information as well as Meredith's. You are, of course, free to email me if you'd like, or if you have more questions, I will make sure that Meredith is also in contact with you because she is the most knowledgeable one. So again, check out the ONI Project website. There's lots of different resources, and I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, if anybody has any questions for Stephanie, you can drop them in the chat. I actually already have a few. So the first question is, how many farmers markets accept SNAP in the state of Oklahoma?
That is a great question. I don't have a current count, but I know as of when as the end of the last year, I believe we had about 42 of them, and that is including farmers markets and then actual on direct farms as well, because both farmers markets and then direct farmers can accept SNAP. So I believe the last count that I had was 42, but I know that that is going up and several markets are in the process of accepting. And you can find the up-to-date list on ONI Project. And I know as well as I believe the Department of Ag has a list.
Yes. So then there was a follow-up question to that too, was do you expect to see more markets accepting SNAP in the next few years?
Absolutely. That's one thing that ONI really does. And again, that is not my role on ONI, but Meredith and some of my colleagues, that is their very specific role that they do, really helping assist farmers markets and direct farmers through that process, because the process, I wouldn't say is difficult, but it is paperwork and it does take some navigation. And so they are very trained. They know the process very well. They've walked several markets through. And so, yes, we definitely expect to. We already know that there are more that are in the process that just don't have their EBT machine yet. So once they get that machine and then they get accepted, then they are ready to take that. So, yes.
Okay. The next question I have is, what got you interested in the local foods and farmers markets and health?
Ooh, what didn't get me interested? I think I'm just a foodie. So I was very fortunate to have a mom that just was a very curious soul. And so she treated both the kitchen and our backyard like a lab. So the kitchen was, well, we'll start with the backyard. The backyard was a lab to see what we could grow. And she wasn't a great gardener. She just was, very curious. And so we would try to grow different things. And so I started in California and then we moved to Oklahoma when I was young. And so just trying different things. And then our kitchen was also a laboratory. So what we grew, we cooked. And a fun fact, one summer some things we tried didn't grow so well. We killed a lot of things. But one summer we found out shortly after moving to Oklahoma that cucumbers grow really well here. I grew up in Duncan, Oklahoma, and I grew so many cucumbers that I was able to give them to a local farm stand and they sold them for me. And so we did the paperwork. So kind of fun. So yeah, I think that's what got me interested. And from there, now when I travel, I love to see what local foods are and find the different vegetables.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us today and for presenting on your topic. That was awesome. Before we wrap up here really quick, while we still have Mary, Stephanie, and Whitney on, does anybody have any questions regarding any type of question for farmers markets? If you do, I'll give you just a minute or so to drop them in the chat, and we will go from there. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any. So if you do think of any questions after we end this presentation, everyone had their contact information on there. You're more than welcome to reach out to me and I can get you their contact information as well. So again, I want to thank everyone for jumping on here today. This is the first webinar of a series that we will have here at the Department of Agriculture that will focus around topics or events that are happening in Oklahoma Ag. Our plan is to have one every quarter. And again, just to remind everyone, if you had to miss something or want to go back and rewatch a portion of the presentations, this is recorded and will be posted to YouTube. So thank you all again, and everyone have a great weekend.